Yo, what's going on, everybody? Marco Master here, and I know I'm a little late to the party on this, but I thought I would do something a little different from what I'm normally doing. But I wanted to give my input on the BR changes in War Thunder. Um, Recently, Gaijin showed off some BR changes that they plan to implement, and it's created a bit of a controversy in the community with a lot of people not liking what they've done, especially with how they are not pushing the 9-3 points up, and they're instead pushing an entire BR bracket down and kind of crushing that BR bracket. Pretty much, Gaijin is compressing more BRs. Here's my opinion. Now, this is very controversial, and like I just said, it's my opinion. It's not law, it's not happening, but it's what I would like to see. Now, obviously, I'm not a perfect being. What I say isn't exactly best for the game. I know that. I'm not perfect, but I try to do my best. Now, for this first video, um, I'm only doing the US ground tech tree. If you guys want to see more, I will do the US air, Germany ground, Russian ground. Anything that you guys want to see, I will do as well. Now, I did put this together a little while ago, but I'm not exactly a perfect being. I will have made mistakes, and if you guys think something is different, should be different, let me know down in the comments. Please. I'd love to hear your input. So, without further ado, let's get to it. You will notice that my BR bracket ranges from 1.0 to 15.0. This would be an insane jump in BR size. As it is currently, ground only goes up to 11.7. So we're going getting an increase of what? 3.3 BRs? That's a big change. Even when Gaijin doesn't usually change it that much. Like back when they increased the BRs for rank 8 for air, it only went up to 12.7. And honestly, it could go up more. But yeah, that's why I increased it a lot, to give us a lot more room. This may lead to too much decompression, to be fair. So feel free to comment on that as well. Alright, so at 1.0, a lot of the lower BRs were not actually changing a lot of things. So at 1.0, we'll have the M2A4, LVT-A1, the Russian Badger LVT-A1, and the 1st Armored Division M2A4. Pretty much, the M2A4 and LVT-A1 will stay at 1.0 reserve. Kinda basic. I did move the M2A2 up to 1.3, I think. Maybe it was already there. I forget. I did do this a little while ago. But, yeah. I feel like with 50 cals, it could go through a lot of things. But obviously, it's not going to go through a lot. It is just 50 cals. It doesn't have a whole lot going for it. So, yeah. At 1.7, I had the M8 HMC, the LVT A4, and the M13 GMC. The M13 GMC is kind of a slightly better but worse M2A2 at the same time, with it having a better turret traverse, I guess, but it can't really shoot forward as well. And it is two 50 cals instead of one 50 cal on the M2A2, although it is also way less armored, so that gives way to that. But it is an SPAA, so it's more or less made for shooting down aircraft. Alright. LVTA4. I think that had a better cannon on it, if I'm not wrong. I think that's the M8 cannon on that one. Let me check real quick. I think that does have the LVT. I think that's the M8 cannon on it. Yeah, if it does have the M8 HMC should be going to 1.7 in my opinion, just so that we don't have to deal with it. The 50 counts at too low a BR. So Uh, yeah, the LVT A4 is with the M8 turret, so that is why it's up there as well. Both get 50 cals, which are easier to, help take care of lighter vehicles. It can still take care of even medium vehicles from their size, so it's pretty good. The M15 GMC, sorry, it gets a cannon on it along with the 250 cals. So honestly, it's a first auto cannon really for America, and it should stay there at 2.0. The M8 LAC. See, this is might be a very controversial one. The M8 LAC in game is 1.0, and I'm doubling that PR. I'm bringing it up to 2.0. Oh yeah, while I'm here, I might as well mention, this is only realistic battles. Only realistic battles. This has nothing to do with arcade or simulator. I don't play those enough to have a grip on what those vehicles will be able to do. Mind you, I haven't played a lot of vehicles in general, but I'm going to give what I feel is best, and then take influence from you guys and probably update this. So, do be understanding, please. Alright. Where was I? M8LAC. Yeah, that thing's a car with a... Am I wrong? 37mm? I think it's the 37mm. Yeah, it's a 37mm. It's pretty mobile and has a 37mm. I feel like, even though it doesn't have the best armor, it will do pretty well. Especially when it's 50 cal as well. It could do pretty well. So, and then you got the M3 GMC, which is the 75mm truck. So, I brought that to 2.0 from 1.7, just because 75mm probably, shouldn't be facing the lowest of the low. It might still, but honestly, I think it'll be fine at 2.0. And then we move on to 2.3, where we have the N3 Stewart. Now, that's a pretty big jump from the N2 A4 to the N3 Stewart. And, yeah, I agree, it is pretty big. But, mind you, we have a massive BR change. So, a lot of stuff's going to change. We also have the M22 at this BR. Two light tanks that I feel will supplement the American tech tree right there pretty well. Then you got the M3A1, both the non-premium and premium version at 2.7. They are just ever so slightly better, so I felt like just barely putting them above it. Then we move on to 3.0, where I have the N16 MGMC, which is the quad machine gun for America on a half track, which is originally at 2.7, so it's not going up much, but it still might be able to do a little bit against lighter targets. But obviously, SPAA, yeah. I tried making sure there was SPAA at a lot of BRs, but America is really lacking in the mid BR, so it's going to be a little difficult. We also have the LVT-A4 ZiZ 2. This has the Russian 57mm cannon on the T-34-57. It's a very powerful cannon, and even though the LVT chassis isn't exactly a strong chassis, I feel like that cannon justifies it going to 3.0, because although it's 2.3 in the real game, I feel like that cannon is powerful because it can pin anything at that BR. It has a pretty good reload, and while it may not have the best turret traverse, it's still good. It's still really good. Then we also have the Stewart 6, which I think is an M5A1. I believe it's a premium M5A1, yep. And then you got the M5A1TD, which seems to be a special version brought to you in Hot Track, so not many people probably have this. It's an older one, not really used a lot. Then at 3.3, we have the N3 Lee. This has that 75mm cannon also on the N3 GMC, but this one actually uses it along with a 37mm cannon, and it's actually a pretty good vehicle, to be fair. The N3 Lee is not a bad vehicle. And then there's the Grant 1, which is the British version of it, but also a premium. Then at 3.7, we have the M4A3105. Yes, this thing needs to be here because the M4A3105 is an M4A3 underneath, which gets really good frontal armor, pretty sure. It gets 63 millimeters at 47 degrees, which is better than the M4A1. Obviously, it has a lack of turret traverse, and it is the 105 howitzer, so that is why it's at still a lower BR than the M4A1, but it still is a really good vehicle, should be able to handle it. Next, we have the M8A1 GMC. The M8A1 GMC, I think, has the 75mm, yes, from the Sherman. But it's also a light tank, or, well, tank destroyer, I guess. It's open-topped, susceptible to HE, not well armored, easy to take out. Better than the M4A3 in some circumstances, but worse in others. They're kind of in the equal part. Now 4.0, we have the M4A1 and T18E2. These two vehicles are pretty well rounded. I feel that the M4A1, stock, bog standard M4, pretty good. Starter, doesn't have the best armor out of the M4s, but it's got that 75mm, got stabilizer, good maneuverability, feels good. Now you got the T18E2 Boarhound. This thing is an armored car, and armored it is. This is not something you really want to mess around with. It's pretty mobile, pretty powerful with a 57mm cannon. So it actually has better penetration than the American 75, which is good. Has a better reload rate, I believe. And it's honestly not that bad. It's one played right, it will do really well. So I think it belongs at 4.3. 4.0. And won't be facing anything too beneath it and too high for it, I feel. So, alright, next BR. We got our next SPAA, the M19A1. The M42 is only slightly better than it in mobility terms, really. So, other than that, they are pretty much the exact same. So, that's the only reason why the M42 is higher. It's got slightly better maneuverability. Alright. Our next light tank, the M24 Chaffee. This thing is pretty powerful. It's got 75mm cannon, pretty maneuverable. Good tank. It's got scouting. I feel like it's a really just solid light tank in the American tech tree. Then you got the M4. The M4 War Thunder mobile version. You got the M10 GMC, which is the 76mm cannon. Again, open-topped, susceptible to HE, but low turret traverse rate. So while it is powerful, it is kind of lacking in the reaction rate really with it. So you gotta be careful while playing it. What did I do here? Well, that was supposed to be the M4, so I'll just put that back there. Then you also got the M24 TL. This is just an M24 Thunder League version. So whoever participated in the 2015 Thunder League and complete the 5 tank challenges, you got this thing. It's just a bog standard M24, I think. Don't think there was anything different about it, so I don't know. I don't have the vehicle. So next we were talking about the M4A2. The M4A2 is slightly better than the M4 on its own, I believe. So that is why I put it at the higher BR. Has better armor, I believe, and better maneuverability. It has I think the M4A2 has the highest top speed out of all of them. Then there's the Canadian M4A5, which about the same as the M4A2, just slightly different. Then at the F5.0, we have the T14 heavy tank, which is really just an up-armored Sherman. But it is very powerful. But we don't want to facing stuff that's too strong against it. So it's the only thing really at 5.0. And have anything else that kind of fit there? Let me know if you guys think differently. Then at 5.3, we have the M6A1. So we're really starting to get into mid-World War II, late World War II, honestly. We have the N6A1 and then the T1E1. The T1E1 is the only real difference that I can see between its performance is that the T1E1 gets a better reverse drive. So it gets the same speed forwards and backwards. The M4A1, M4A2, 76 Shermans are at the same yard, 5.7, due to the fact that there is barely any difference between them. The only difference is their engine and their armor. The armor of the M4A1 is more cast, while the M4A2 is, well, wooded, I believe. So that's the main difference. The M4A376 is above them because of the fact that it gets APCR round, which can be pretty powerful and useful. At the same yard, we have the Jumbos. So those are really strong, really powerful. You know what I mean. M36, pretty much better M10. Has higher torch reverse, has a better cannon than 90 mil, and honestly, just a really good tank destroyer at SBR. Then we have the 76 Jumbo. Notice that's only barely above the real normal Jumbo. And that's because it shouldn't be really phasing stuff like the T32 on its team. It won't be able to do anything. It'll struggle even against stuff like the T26E1 and T34. So, honestly, I still hesitate putting it at this high a BR, but it's got to be higher than the Jumbo. Then we have the M18 GMC and the M18 Black Cat, the premium version. I think we all know the M18s are really solid light tanks, so yeah. Then we have the M36B2, which is kind of a better M36, mainly just getting a heat round, which makes it a lot more powerful though. So that's why it's a higher BR. 6.3 also houses the M4T26, which is the M4 with the M26 Pershing turret on it. Not perfect, but not bad. Then we're also keeping the T25 and T20 at lower BR because in the real game, they are at way too high a BR for them to be useful. They don't have good armor. They only have a 76mm gun. I think the T25 might have a 90. Hold on. It might have the 90, but still, a 76mm cannon isn't really going to do much. So, it's just really lacking. Okay, yeah, the T25 does have the 90mm, but its armor is very lacking. To call it a good medium tank is, well, a lie. But hopefully this will give it a buff, seeing as it's at a lower BR now. Now at 6.7, we have the M41, the M26, the Super Hellcat, which is the Hellcat with 90mm, and the M26 T99, which is the M26 with the rockets on it. Not much to say here. Pretty solid lineup. At 7.0, we have the M109A1, which is the American howitzer. Then we have the T2065, which is the heavy tank, the jumbo version. Heavy tank version, the M26. We have the M46, the M56, the M50, the T28, the M46 tire, and the M26E1. Not much is different about the M26E1, I believe, except for the fact that it gets the better 90mm that's also shown on the T26E1. But the M26E1 doesn't have any of the better armor, so that's why it's at lower BR. Now at 7.3, we have the T26E1, T34, T92, T30, N6A2E1, and the Battle Pass M55176 Sheridan. Whoo, that's a lot to say. The T26E1 is really just about M26E1. T34 is the start of the big American tanks, with the T29, T30, T31, 2, 3, 4. So, pretty fun. The T92 is a pretty capable light tank. I kept it above the M56 and M50 like it is in game right now. Then the T30 is another one of those big heavy tanks. 155mm cannon though, just like the M109A1, except it's a heavy tank. The N6A2E1 is like the T29, in the fact that it gets to 105, but I believe it has worse armor and worse mobility, I think. Then you got the 76 Sheridan, which we all know what that is at this point. It Need to go up in BR a little bit, but it's not broken. So, next at 7.7, you have the T29, T32, M47, and the T54E2. So, the T54E2, still don't understand why that was added to the game in the first place. Honestly, kind of a disappointment. T54E1 is just better. Don't ever get the T54E2. M47, kind of a stopgap between the M46 and M48. It's not bad, but not good, I don't think. So, I've never really played it, but it doesn't seem to be the best. T95 is just an upgrade T28, although I do suspect it's going to struggle a bit. So I'm sorry for anybody who likes this vehicle. I doubt anybody does, though. And then there's the T32E1, which is a higher BR than the T32 because better armor, blah, blah, blah. But it isn't really good enough to suggest that it has to face super high stuff. Alright. Next, we're moving on. We have the M163 at 8.3. This may be a bit controversial, but it really should be at a lower BR here. It needs to stay down here so America can have some sort of a SPAA and stay competitive. So, then we have the N7 to 8 CEV. I know a lot of people may have forgotten about this because it got removed very quickly, but it's pretty much the American Centurion AVRE. So, feel like it wasn't too bad and was a lot of fun, maybe to some people. So, 8.3 may change based on you guys. 8.3 we have the M103, the last American heavy tank. We have the N60 and the N60A2. The A2 is a starship, the one with the gun launcher system, so, you know, not great. M60 is the beginning of MBTs, kind of. Just continues on the M48 line, so not too much of a difference there. Then the M103 is our last heavy tank. It's very powerful, but well armored. Next we move on, we have the T95E1, the M901, the squadron vehicle, the M551 Sheridan, the M61 AOS, and the Magach 3 Era. Yes, we have the American version of the Magach 3 Era in here, because some people probably still have that. The T95E1, kind of a very sad tank, from what I know. So, we kept that at a somewhat low BR, but not too low, I think. M901, pretty capable, but we again don't want to bring it up too far, because it does just knock him. It only has that one armament, so. The M551 Sheridan, it's a light tank with the gun launcher system. It's alright, but it's not gonna be overpowered. So, the M60A1 AOS is an upgraded version of the M60, kind of. So, it's just at a slightly higher BR. Magach 3 Era is kind of in the same boat. So, that's why it's there. 9.3, we bring in the N3 Bradley. Nothing else here. I feel like it won't be facing anything too low for its BR, but not anything too high. Then 9.7, we have the N60A1 Rise prototype, which is just, again, another better N60. Alright, 10.0, we bring in the next anti-air, the M247. Should be fine here, I feel, honestly. And then we also have the N60A3 TTS at this BR. Kind of, again, just another better N60. The trend here, Merkava Mark 1 is also at this BR. Now, this is a full-blooded MBT, but it is not too good, honestly. The armor is alright. Gun is alright. I don't think it's going to be that powerful here. So, it shouldn't be too bad. Next, we go on to the XM803. America's attempt at a first MBT with Germany. Didn't go so well. The Markova 2 Mark 2B is here, and the XM1 Chrysler variant is here as well. Then at 10.7, we have the German MBT-70 and the XM1 GM. The GM1 is the one you get on PC. Chrysler you get on Xbox, I believe. Then at 11.0, we have the next SPAA, the Impro Chaparro. I definitely butchered that name. Then we have the XM8 light tank. Now, this is an event vehicle, not many people will have it, but should do pretty well here. 11.3, we have another light tank, which is very similar to the XM8, the CCVL. And we also bring in the M3A3 Bradley. 11.7, we have the M60 AMBT, which is the Turkish version that actually gets a 120 mil and an autocannon. Pretty decent. Then the M60 120S, which is the Abrams turret on an M60. Not too bad, but not great. Then you have LOSAT, which is just a funny event vehicle. So, honestly, not going to do too well anywhere. But, you know, it's funny. Then at 12.0, we have the next SPAA with the LAVAD. It also has key abilities to fight ground targets, so that's why it's quite a bit higher up. And it's also not too broken here, I feel. At 12.3, we have the M1128s. They'll be pretty good, but not as good as the Abrams, I feel. And the premium M1 KVT is really just an M1 Abrams. Has same round, I believe, and it's just, you know, looks like a Russian tank, I guess. 13.0, we have the XM975. America's really getting some better AA here, I guess, with the missile-wise. 13.3, we have the HSTVL, AGS, and the IPM-1. 13.7, we have the Merkava Mark 3D, the M1A1, and the M1A1 YouTube Cup. 14.0, we have the Squadron-based M1A1 AIM, the M1A1 Clickbait Premium, and the M1A1 Heavy Common. 14.3 is the ADATs. 14.7 brings in the M1A2s. And then the 15.0 is the M1A2 SEP V2. I want to make sure these powerful tanks were separated pretty evenly so they didn't have to face anything too powerful compared to what they are. You don't want an M1 Abrams facing stuff like an T80 BVM. So, stuff like that. Anyways, if you guys have any changes that you would like, let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you next time. Hopefully you agree with my changes and maybe we'll be able to push these towards Gaijin at some point. Also, let me know what you would like to, what texture you would like me to do next. Goodbye.